All right. Good morning. I anticipate obviously a lot of questions about a certain topic. Uh, really don't know anything at this point other than I called Rob at about 9 o'clock this morning just to knew everybody here would ask about it. And he wants to meet midweek this week at some point based on his travel schedule, going to the college football playoff and that whole deal. I asked if we could meet today, and it just didn't work out. So we'll do that and go forward. So all systems are going toward the banquet this afternoon, or kind of the rest of this morning, this afternoon, and then heading out recruiting.
Mark, after last night's loss, what kind of reflection did you do overnight? Do you reflect much? How does that affect you with all the things that are going on? All the peripheral noise.
A lot of different thoughts. I guess that's reflective. Just thinking about a million different variables, obviously throughout last night.
When you go recruiting with the questions out there, how do you address those with recruits? If you're going out and asking, what do you tell them?
It depends. Obviously that this kind of situation occurs. It's not ideal for anybody, but we'll be very honest about everything as is always our approach in recruiting.
I'm sure after losses, you don't sleep a ton, and at the end of the seasons that aren't great, you don't sleep a ton. What have the last 12 hours been like for you?
Been awake. Got a lot of, a lot of text from a lot of different people on the East Coast, in particular, that probably didn't anticipate me responding. I'm not the Donald Trump midnight guy, or 2, 3 a.m. normally, but just again thinking about a lot of different factors, a lot of different things that have occurred.
Did you feel like that midweek conversation with Rob changed based on yesterday's result?
I have no idea. No, I have no idea.
Mark, have you talked to Dan Hawkins or anyone that's been through this kind of situation and how to handle it? And if you are retained next year, what do you see this team being like in 2017?
I haven't directly had any of those conversations. I've had indirect, and whether it's text messaging and all those things, from a lot of different people that have gone through this. We're a very young football team, very injury riddled football team right now that played a tough schedule, and all those things are almost have to be better. We'll head that direction here in 72 hours.
If you could go maybe 300 feet above the entire season and just kind of, obviously you are recapping the season, but what do you think was the biggest thing that was lacking from this year that you guys have had in years past when you had more success?
I think the just probably playing on the front foot always offensively and having total confidence in what we were doing. And I think, again, by virtue of a little bit of uncertainty at quarterback, some guys up front that played their tails off, but at times had some hiccups. There was some confidence issues. Had a couple drops here and there in key situations, but that fuels everything else. That allows your defense to be aggressive and create more turnovers. Obviously, need to stop the run a lot better. Part of that is simple in terms of. Not simple, but just again the number of injuries we had at key positions up front, guys not available. That matters, and then that affects everything else.
What do you tell your assistant sort of in a time like this? Obviously, you can go about business as usual as much as you want, but what do you tell them? And I'll ask the second one after.
Okay. I had a few conversations obviously last night after the game, and then at some point this morning, I can't remember when it was, I just sent out a text message of, hey, I don't I haven't heard anything from anybody, and just how much I care about those guys and appreciate everything they've done, and that was something to that effect.
And then conversely, have any assistants sort of told you about plans to either retire or if they're taking interviews or looking anywhere?
No, zero.
Do you feel like anything's changed with you as a head coach from when Rob decided to extend you to where now we sit today?
Hopefully I'm better, but not that I know of.
On the topic of leadership within the program, specifically with the players, bundling up this season, how do you use that to instill leadership, to encourage leadership, to get these guys to be vocal and sort of, this season be a teaching moment for them?
Yeah, a ton of those moments occurred, and as we've talked many times, this was a team. This was just a group of guys that there wasn't a lot of natural, natural and credible leadership, and those are guys that are great players, that are naturally vocal, that assert themselves all the time, and there weren't a lot of those guys, and we knew that coming into it. The guys that were the most of that ilk were hurt. And so that element again was gone, but that's where we as coaches have to step in and make that happen. But that can only go so far. It has to happen in the locker room. It has to happen out of this building, out of this facility, every minute of every day. And a lot of guys have already talked about that. Some of the quote unquote quieter guys that they know they need to change.